go.
Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show, Options Brew TV, Traders Workshop. Guess what? A little bit different episode today. Okay, we're not going to necessarily talk about specific strategies on this episode, but this one's going to be fun because we have a series of 3 questions that were asked to us, and we decided to make a video on it. And we're going to give our answers, and it's about kind of the novice trading, what we learned along the way when we were beginners, and looking back at things that we wish we had known or wish we had followed. But we're going to talk about each one of these 3 points in some depth, and hopefully make a great video out of this, huh? What do you think, Mark?
Exactly. I mean, we've been doing the Traders Workshop. We've been talking about a lot of tools. In many ways, this discussion is going to be about the trader's mindset and how you want to approach trading, how you want to think about that and develop and grow as a trader.
Oh, I love it. Okay, let's get right into it. So here's question number 1. Okay. Is there one item you wish you knew before you started trading? I wish I knew the next day whether everything was up or down. How about that?
The crystal ball. Newspaper today.
That's right. One time. I only need it once. Okay, so, seriously.
I'm going to answer this question with a story.
Okay.
And this was a story that I read in a great series of books. They're a set of profiles by Jack Schwager, Market Wizards. And so he's got a number of different Market Wizards books out there, highly recommended.
I remember it well.
In one of them, he interviews Ed Seykota. And Ed Seykota was one of the big trend followers. And he taught his craft to a number of different traders, and he was asked about the process of learning about trading. And so he responded with this parable of the Jade Master. And so roughly to paraphrase the sort of story, the student comes up to the Jade Master's hut one day, knocks on the door and says, "I want to learn about Jade." And so the Jade Master looks at him and says, "Here's a broom, go sweep the floor." And the student says, No, I'm here to learn about Jade." And the Jade Master goes, "Sweep the floor." And so then, the next day the student comes back and says, "Jade Master, I'm here to learn about Jade." Once again, he says, "Sweep the floor." And so this goes on over days and over weeks. And slowly the student learns to sweep the floor. He learns to make tea. He learns to tend to all of the different, things around this Jade Master's studio and home. And so then one day, after this has been going on for a long time, the Jade Master hands him a stone. And the student looks back at the master and says, "The stone I hold is not true jade." And so all along, the student has been coming to the Jade Master's house and doing all these, minute tasks and, things that don't seem like they're necessarily related, but that it's through this sort of, discipline and, osmosis that you learn the craft over time, that there's no one answer about what is jade. And, there is no, you have to learn this yourself by being exposed to it over time.
Right.
And so what that story means to me in terms of trading is this idea that there is no one way to approach trading. There are trend followers, there are premium writers, there are YOLO traders, there are tons of different ways to make money in this market. But at the end of the day, you have to find your own internal understanding of what's going to work for you, what's going to be comfortable for you to sleep at night. And it's by studying other traders. As market makers, we used to sit down with the other market makers during our training program to see how trader A traded, trader B traded, what their different styles were, so that you could learn your own style. So, going through that journey, and it's going to seem tedious and it's going to seem, pretty boring at times and whatnot. And you're going to lose money and all that stuff. But finding that, your approach to the market is really the thing I wish I knew. That there is no silver bullet. It's how you solve the problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, my experience is similar. I think I'd say the one thing I wish I'd known before I started, I had pretty good teaching and education. I was lucky there. I got pulled into the business under a real professional's wing, and they taught me just like you probably got taught at your previous market making firm. But what I didn't have is I didn't have the fine details of understanding premium, long and short. I just had, hey, get out there, kid, and knock yourself out. So the reason I bring up the premium part is I really didn't start making money as a trader until I understood how to sell premium smartly. Okay. And I don't mean that by just selling straddles and just absolutely blindly selling premium. There's a good time to do it. There's a good time to buy premium too. But I really struggled until I really was able to incorporate the short side of options along with my long side of options, right? And I started understanding all those relationships of longs and shorts and compiling a position that was pretty much directional neutral ultimately. But I took advantage of what our advantage was on the trading floor back then, and that's buying bids and selling offers, right? And managing your inventory. So until I understood all that, I never made any money. But once I did, I started, it just took off. Now, how does that pertain to the retail trader today? You don't have the opportunity as a retail trader to buy bids and sell offers, right? You can't do that. That's what professionals do. But you do have the ability to manage your workflow, right? And really understand the type, like you said, the type of trader you're going to be. And what is
adaptive
your
across
strategy?
markets too.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
is no, like you said, there's a good time to buy premium and there's a good time to sell premium.
Yep.
And there is no sort of, one strategy that's going to work across different scenarios. And it's always a process of learning and adapting.
Yep. 100%. Okay, good. Okay, let's go. Question number 2. Ready? Question number 2 is, what things do new traders need to know or are misinformed about? Misinformed about. I think there's a ton of things, but go ahead.
So I think, one thing that I think is really interesting to know, and I don't know that it necessarily gets emphasized enough, is thinking about liquidity. And that sounds like a sort of nebulous, complex term, but when you're thinking about where you want to trade, it's not only where you're able to get into the strategy, how tight are the markets, how much edge are you going to give up crossing spreads, and where that execution matters, but also getting out of it. So like a great example of this is butterflies, or a great strategy. I love the butterfly, so much you can do with it. But when you see where it hits that max value point, you're never going to be able to get out of that trade at that max value point.
Right.
That you almost shouldn't even think about something like that as being a possibility. So knowing where you truly can get into a trade and where you can get out. Are you going to be trading on the day before Christmas when everyone is gone and liquidity is thin? Are you going to, thinking about that before you get into a trade, I think is really important because, all those little pennies matter, and getting in and out of a trade and having the flexibility to move a position if it goes against you, that's a really important factor to consider.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And you and I talked about this previously, but another really important thing that I think trader or today's retail folks are misinformed about is who's on the other side of your trade. Okay.
Great
And
point.
you and I were chatting about that earlier. I think some retail folks care about that, and they're worried that these evil market makers are on the other side and they know something that the retail trader doesn't. I can tell you that their business model, their being the market makers, is completely different from what yours is as a retail trader. And it should not matter to you who's on the other side. There is no trip-sickery going on. They are governed by the law. They have to make, two-sided markets and comply with all the rules. And they're doing something completely different than what a retail trader is doing. You should worry about exactly what you just said, liquidity. The more of it there is, the easier it is for you to affect your strategy, right? So I think that's something that most people, I talk to a lot of these retail folks, well, I don't want to trade with Citadel. I go, why not? They provide a lot of liquidity. Who cares, right? So
exactly. And I think, things like PFOF get thrown around, and, this, like you said, market maker might have inside information here, or they're doing something different, or they're reading my order flow before it comes in. There are all kinds of conspiracy theories. But at the end of the day, I think that's one of the beauties about options specifically, is that people can play all kinds of different games in the same space. It's not necessarily zero sum. Right. So sure, on any given contract, there's a buyer and seller, there's open interest on a specific level, but people are overwriting against stock positions. People are trading against bond positions they might have. The way people are interacting in this market, they have all different objectives. And so you don't need to worry about what the objectives of someone else are. You just need to worry about how you're going to be able to execute your strategy.
Yep. No, 100%. I think, what we did as market makers is we wanted to know who was on the other side because we had to take the other side. Right. So we didn't want to get pushed around or be the last one, on the ride, and we're all of a sudden chasing losses. That's a different strategy altogether. But yeah, the retail folks, I think, they worry about that so much. I'm like, forget about it. Do your thing, be disciplined, and you won't have to worry about any of that, right?
There's plenty of hay to make before you have to worry about who's on the other side of your trade.
That's right. Okay, good one. Question number 3. Ready? Third one. I need to hit the bell. I haven't hit the bell.
Love it.
I got a bell on my desk. I just felt like hitting the bell. What's your best advice for someone who wants to start trading options? I know the obvious one is education, understand options. Okay, we get that part. Is there any other little tidbit that you can think of?
I think you're dead on about education, right? And that's true of anything that you're buying, whether it's options or stocks, or, know what you're getting into and understanding, what your risks are, baseline importance level. But I think my best piece of advice beyond just that would be journaling. And so that sort of gets back to that first question about like discovering yourself as a trader, really understanding that this is a process. And so, every day going through and saying, why did I make money today? Why did I lose money today? I think a big temptation of people is to see that their number went up and see that, their account is green on the day, and pat themselves on the back. But that's not going to keep happening unless you really understand exactly why you're making money. And I've been doing this for over 15 years. And as I'm learning a new asset class now, I'm journaling every day. I'm writing paragraphs, trying to analyze where did I make money? How did I lose money? Just because that process is so important to really understand the nitty gritty of this. What was I thinking? What risks did I think about when I put on that trade? And you can go back and see, and analyze very objectively, what your decisions were. And, a big thing we used to say was focus on process, not results. Right. That if you're constantly doing the right thing and making sound, rational decisions, objectively approaching the market, that should lead you to making money. Sure. Anyone can get lucky, anyone can get unlucky, but by constant practice, reflection, that's really where you can up your edge in the whole game.
Yeah, no, those are great points. I think, I'm with you on all that. We taught a lot of traders in our business back in the day. We didn't necessarily teach a trading style, meaning long premium, short premium. We taught edge, right? How to edge, how to gain edge, and how to hedge your edge so that you keep it. Okay. But one thing that we really stressed, and I think it's important for this question, is discipline. That you need to have a disciplined approach to getting into the trade, getting out of the trade. What do you do when there's losses? What do you do when there's gains? Sometimes taking profits is really hard, quite frankly, right? And you need to develop that discipline and really focus on it. Journaling is a part of discipline. It's one of the things that causes you to have it, right? Because you're taking the time to write this stuff down. And it's a disciplined approach that is really, really vital, in my opinion, that a new trader needs to develop or have. And that also spills into, what's your risk reward scenario look like? Are you the type who's going to, risk hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to make small? That doesn't seem logical, right? Are you the other kind of person? So do you have a risk reward sort of profile that fits your personality, right?
And it's all a process. And there's no right answer to any of this.
Yep.
And you'll see that after doing this for a while, it starts to become second nature. So,
right.
the seasoned veteran doesn't necessarily have to sit down and write everything out because they're doing it naturally. Yeah. Because that's just become part of the way they frame the world.
Back to Jade, the Jade Master. So all of a sudden it's intuitive. And when I do my demos on Trade Hawk for folks, I can fly through the workflow, right? Why? Is it because I'm really good at that? No, I've done it for so long. I've practiced, right? I know exactly what my workflow needs to be. And I do it without even thinking. My hands just move and I get to where I need to be because of my discipline and the practice that I put into it, right? So, everything comes with a little practice.
And knowing when to scale up and knowing when to scale down. And,
yep.
All of that whole process, absolutely comes through discipline and, constant reflection. And the markets are an organic thing. They're always changing, right? So right. No matter how long you've been at it, you need that reflection to continue to stay on top of things. And, the cheese moves. So you got to keep an eye out for where it goes.
That's right. All right, good. This was good. All right, so that's the end of our 3 questions. I hope that made a little sense to the viewers. That was really fun, Mark. We're going to do more of those. Give us some comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And we will see you next, maybe Tuesday or maybe Thursday. We got a new thing coming, so we're going to see what happens there. Right?
Stay tuned for that. I'm excited.
All right, Mark. Good to see you. Have a great day.
You too, Lex.
Bye.